Hello and welcome to this episode of The Rest is Entertainment, Questions and Answers edition. I'm Marina Hyde.
And I am Richard Osman, ready for some questions /
I most
answers.
certainly am.
Born ready, right?
Born ready. I don't sleep or wait.
Should we start with you?
Yes.
Colin Price has a question for you.
Hit me with it.
Big Col. So often I'm watching a drama or police procedural and a scene is filmed inside a car. The driver turns to the passenger and talks, sometimes at length. I want to shout, keep your eyes on the road. Keep your eyes on the road. I assume they're never really driving, but the view out the window doesn't suggest they are on a trailer. How were these scenes filmed?
Ah, right. Okay, Colin. Well, you know, in the old days, they used to have that, which is such a sort of trope of those kind of 50s movies, and even persisted beyond where, you know, like you'd have Cary Grant and Grace Kelly in the car driving around in, you know, in To Catch a Thief, and the convertible, and then the film of the road behind it. And it's quite, you know, that particular scene, I think she's got to swerve away from lots of lorries. She's a crazy driver. Crazy girl, crazy driver. But then they stopped doing that, and that all changed. Now, the car that you see the actors in, for the purposes of this explanation, is called the picture car, right?
Right.
So the picture car has got your actors in. Now, what you normally have, if you've got some money, is a car process rig.
Car process rig?
Car process rig. Okay. And that's basically like a low loader, which that car is on. This works best, by the way, if you haven't got lots of cars driving around, because then, as you can imagine, your car, the picture car,
will be slightly higher up.
Will be slightly higher. And by the way, if you look closely, I was watching, which I really loved actually, and I'm coming to it really late, but I'm looking forward to the next series, which hasn't come quite yet, which was Magpie Murders, which had Leslie Manville, it was of BBC. Oh, yeah. And there's a bit, part of it set in, you know, back in the 50s. And there is somebody, they were driving around in Norfolk, which they were lucky because there was nobody else around on the road. But I did think, this car is quite high, I could see. But you won't really notice things like that. I chance to notice it because I'm always looking for stupid little things like that. But then pulling along that low loader, you might have something called an inset car, which is like a sort of insert car, which is an adapted kind of truck or, you know, SUV, which has got all this kind of rigging sticking out the side of it so that they can film what's happening in the picture car on the low loader behind, and that will tow it. But you also have camera cars which might drive alongside or whatever to get the shots, and they're sort of matte black so they don't reflect the light, and they've got, you might have seen these because they've got a huge kind of crane sticking out over the top, and they're shooting in. But basically no one is ever driving.
Right, ever.
Very rarely. Sometimes you have a tow dolly where they're actually just pulling it, and then the picture car itself is encrusted with cameras and lighting equipment, and that's happening. Funnily enough, what has now happened after beginning this with that kind of Grace Kelly and Cary Grant thing about the footage behind being played, and it always looks like they're in front of a cinema screen of a road. What they can now do, you're going back in some cases, if you've got a lot of money, you can do it in the studio. And I was talking to a production designer about this, and it was incredible. He did something set in a kind of 60s version of New York, and they film it all, and then it's done with CGI, but it's playing, and you can put it on the outside of the car windows, which, by the way, is all just green screen in the studio, and the light of the buildings, you know, going through a place where there's a gap in the street, it will reflect on the actors' cheeks. It is incredible that what they can do now. So they can now simulate that entire thing. So we're almost going back, if you've got lots of money to make your thing, to simulate it back. Yeah.
But yeah, anytime you see people talking inside a car, they are not driving.
They are in the picture car.
Yeah, there's lots of external shots of cars. Ingrid just did a job where she had to drive an Audi, and actors, by the way, they was always driving people. They say, would you like me to drive the car into shot for you? And all actors go, no, I'm absolutely fine, I can drive a car. But then it's always terrifying to think, oh my God, how do I drive?
Yeah.
But funnily enough, that you know, showing the projections, that BBC drama that was on Night Sleeper, which is all set on a train, all set on a moving train from Glasgow to London, and that has video screen of exactly the entire journey from Glasgow to London, just outside the windows of the set of the train, and it looks like they really are on a train.
They do this increasingly now because it's really expensive to send a crew to do lots of things. So if you send a sort of skeleton crew to shoot what you need, it's actually in many cases cheaper to sort of CGI it into the site and much more practical because you haven't got to get the whole crew and all the actors and everybody to wherever your remote location is.
On the Thursday Murder Club movie, not to be all 1930s about it, but the internal shots of the flats of all the main characters. So we got the big external thing, which is a big sort of country house, and painters had looked from inside the windows. They'd taken a photo of the scene outside every single one of those windows where they knew that the characters lived, and they then painted enormous kind of 40-foot high canvases of that exact scene. So they were paintings, but you look out and it just looks like the real.
For when they have it at Shepperton, to go through the windows at Shepperton, at the studio this is,
exactly.
Where the interiors.
So the walls of the studios are enormous paintings by these incredibly talented painters to look like the outside of the thing.
Well, I love that. That's very golden age.
That's very cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we did Celebrity Antiques Road Trip, you really are inside the car and they have little GoPros looking at you, but you do have to keep your eye.
They have less money than some of the productions we've been speaking about.
But also you go to a road where there is no traffic. There's only one rule on Celebrity Antiques Road Trip, and any time you watch it, you'll see this. So you're always in a classic car, but no road markings. You have to go to a road where there's no road markings, so it looks like you're in the countryside, which you are. So the second there's like white lines down the middle of the road, you're like, oh, we can't do that. You turn off until there's no road markings.
Really?
On Celebrity Antiques Road Trip, they really are driving. That's a scoop.
It's not. Yes, it's and also yes, it's because it's not quite as discussed.
What do you mean? It's not quite as what?
It's not. I'm just saying it's probably costs less than the Thursday Murder Club movie.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What, you think Celebrity Antiques Road Trip is not like a Marvel movie?
I think it's not like the Thursday Murder Club movie. I don't want to speak on Marvel.
I mean, it has some similarities, I would say.
I've got a question for you from Daniel Openshaw, and I really want to know the answer too. Really enjoyed your appearance on Saturday Kitchen, Richard.
Thank you, Daniel.
I have often wondered what time people actually start drinking on that show. If there's a rehearsal before the actual show starts at 10, perhaps not, then that would be quite a session before the weekend has even begun.
Yeah, gosh, it's a good question. So there is a rehearsal, which as the guest I didn't get to go to. I think they have a rehearsal for the chefs and things like that because that's quite technical. And I know they definitely do drink the wine during the rehearsal, because when we were drinking some red wine on the show I was on, someone said this tastes so much better than it did earlier, because it's been allowed to breathe. So they had been drinking.
8:42.
Yes, exactly. So you start about 10, and
it's like Christmas Day, isn't it? Really, it doesn't count. Saturday Kitchen.
It's so similar. Yeah, booze you drink on Saturday Kitchen doesn't touch the sides.
No.
The truth is you don't drink an awful lot of it.
No.
So they'll bring over the food. You don't eat a lot of the food either. You have sort of a mouthful of the food. So Ollie Smith, who we've talked about before, he was the wine expert when I was on it. And just for each dish, so maybe there's 4 bottles of wine you try, but you only have a little sip. When I was on Sunday Brunch a few years ago, they did hot gin cocktails. And this was about 11 in the morning, and we really knocked those back. They were amazing. And by the end of that, everyone was a little bit kind of, okay, that's interesting. It's about 11:30 on a Sunday morning, and I slightly feel like I've had a session. But on Saturday Kitchen, because there's so much going on, so much stuff happening, you have a little bit of each of the food and just a sip of the wine. But you do, by the third one, you do start you've gone to they're showing some Nigella or something, and you sat there, you've got a glass of wine in front of you, and you go to drink from it, and someone takes it away from you, and you think, oh yeah, of course, I am not at the pub. I am not at the pub. It's absolutely fine. But so immediately it gets taken away, and the crew eat all the food and all that kind of stuff. But so you are not too drunk. Although even by the end of that, I guess if you've had 2 sips of each, you've had maybe 2 glasses of wine or something. You feel it a tiny bit, but nothing compared to the hot gin cocktails on Sunday Brunch. That was challenging.
What a professional, though. You nailed the appearance.
Well, that's it. Some people, when you come on shows, you're in your dressing room for half an hour, and some people do always ask for a beer. So people like to have something before they go on. There's certain people where runners have said, no beer for this person.
Just say we've got nothing.
Just say, honestly, there is no booze available.
We've looked everywhere in London and they don't seem to have any.
Yeah, it's really annoying. But then other shows, you get booze on set if you want it. If you do Graham Norton or something, they say, what drink would you like on set? And this, that, the other. But it's never kind of pints. It's not like the darts or something.
No.
I think it's just, a little relaxer. Me, I was like a glass of water. That's what I like. I like to have my wits about me.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's just not really entirely worth it.
It's
surely.
like people who tweet drunk. It's like people go on.
That's half
on
of
chat
Twitter,
shows,
isn't it?
I mean,
It certainly reads like it.
it's certainly. That's what you really come to understand, I think, on things like Twitter and stuff like that. When someone seems like utterly unreasonable, they've done something that's inexplicable. It's just
look at the timestamp.
They're drunk, right? Marina Edward
Yes.
Skinner has a question for you. I am awaiting the new series of Celebrity SAS Who Dares Wins and wondered, do they take it easy on the celebrities off camera?
Right. Now, Edward, this series has now started. Since you wrote that question, it's just started, and I've asked one of the participating celebrities on it who said that actually, no, it's a really unusual reality show, which is that you do not see producers on this show at all. You don't have contact with production staff. You, if you need to see a doctor or the shrink, you can see them, but they don't count as a production staff. But the only people you see are the directing staff, and the directing staff are on the whole time. So you're being filmed whenever you're seeing the directing staff. You don't chat to them at all during filming, and that creates that particular atmosphere on that show. And they're obviously they are the real stars, the directing staff. So that Foxy and that Billy, they are the draw of the show. But it wouldn't necessarily work if off camera it was all like, oh, come on, I'll make you a cup of tea. So it has to that you see them, they come on camera, and you're into the tasks and the challenges and the things like that.
And it's amazing that, because again, we talked about immersive experiences on the Tuesday show, and actually as a celebrity, those experiences do become incredibly immersive, and you do get Stockholm syndrome incredibly quickly. And you do, because if I was on that show, I'm not going to do Celebrity SAS Are You Tough Enough, because I know the answer already, which is no, I am not tough enough. I would not, if someone starts shouting at me, I'd be like, come on, man. This TV. I'm not doing this. And also, I know this is being filmed. I know there's someone in a truck having a cup of tea, watching me getting screamed at, and I'm not having it. But it's, if you give yourself up to it, it very quickly becomes your reality. And producers have known that for years and years and years. And, you should be able to go on those shows and just go, look, come on, guys, this is, we were, you talked to my agent, we had lunch in the Ivy when you signed me up for this. I'm not suddenly going to be, in my underpants, having water thrown over me and think that that's normal. Yet it absolutely happens. You buy into it. There's a sort of thing, and it's human nature, isn't it? You don't want to be the person who breaks the spell. You don't want to be the person, if a reality is there, you don't want to be the emperor's new clothes. Just go, hold on, is it? But it feels like,
any of those shows in which you become exhausted, if there's sleep deprivation, you're hungry, you're tired, any of those you become institutionalized far quicker, which is the case across, not just entertainment formats, also imprisonment and various other, any of those things, you become very quickly part of the institution.
One of my absolute favourite substrata of show business groups is the WhatsApp group between celebrities, all of whom were booked on the same reality show. Okay, because when you are on SAS, Are You Tough Enough, anything like that, Strictly, The Jungle, any of those, there is a real, genuine, very, very strong bond between the contestants on those shows, because they're going through the same thing. They're going through a thing that no one else is going through. It's just psychologically, it's very, very bonding. And so whenever people on those shows go, oh my God, we're going to be friends forever, they are not kidding. They're not being kind of show businessy. It's genuinely, they feel like they are connected. They feel like there's this bond that will never be broken, like a band of brothers. And so they all have WhatsApp groups.
Yeah, it's like they've gone to boarding school for 1 week.
Yeah. So listen, I'll take your word for it. I can imagine.
Definitely.
And so after that, you'd always get people who've been on certain shows or done certain challenges with people, and their phone will go off, and you go, oh, what's that? You go, oh, it's the WhatsApp group. Someone wants us to do temping bowling. And, because for about 4 days afterwards, all you can do is talk to those people, because no one else understands what it is you've been through. But like after about 4 days, and suddenly you're doing something else, and something's happened with your kids at school, and so you move on. But there are certain people who cannot let it go, and that WhatsApp group, which is strong for a while, and then it just gets less and less and less, and then usually there's just like one person going, anybody in Exeter, because I'm heading out for a drink if anyone's around. And it's but it's not fake. It is really not fake, but it does not last long, that camaraderie of reality shows. And yeah, that's just when people get a group WhatsApp from a show they've been on, that have been to the North Pole, and suddenly they're getting a message from someone and they're going, oh God, what's this? And I just think that's in a way, if there was a way of televising the sad petering out of a celebrity reality show WhatsApp group, I would watch that.
Yeah. Sick transit Gloria reality.
Yeah, there you go. But you can bet with celebrity SAS, they will just be brothers in arms and sisters in arms for it will mean so much to them.
Not Barrowman.
And then, is Barrowman on it?
He was on it for, I believe, 17 minutes. I don't want to misstate the number of minutes.
Yeah.
Or was it 32 minutes? We're talking a number of minutes beneath the number 60.
Oh, what happened?
He vomited and just looked at his vomit and then went, right, I'm out.
Yeah, but that would be me. See, that's it, because Barrowman knows where he is. You know what I mean?
Does
He's
he?
like, yeah.
I mean, that's part of the problem. He didn't seem to know where he was lots of the time. Probably why he's now doing the reality shows. But anyway, it hasn't worked out for him.
But that would be me. I would literally, the second someone shouted at me, and I would laugh. You have to laugh because you go, but I know that you are, those guys are no longer in the SAS, they're in show business, right?
Yeah.
So they're TV presenters, right? So don't tell,
They're the worst. They're television presenters who are also in the SAS. I mean, that is perhaps our strongest and most difficult to deal with human.
I once had, was trying to book Andy McNabb for something, the SAS guy. We had a reality show. It's also like a Quantum Leap type reality show where every time you walk through a door, you're put in an entirely new situation. You had no idea where you were. And one of them was like an SAS room. And so Andy McNabb was going to come and do it. So we met up with him, had a drink with Andy McNabb, who looks exactly like you think he'd look, which is inconspicuous but hard.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So inconspicuous, he could kill you. And he was saying, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. There's a firing range up at Stoke Poges. I'll take you up to the firing range at Stoke Poges and we'll fire guns. And I was like, oh my God, the only thing better than that would be if there was a bar. He goes, oh, there's a bar? I was like, okay.
The firing range.
All right, Andy. So yeah, I would, if any of those SAS guys started, if real SAS guys were shouting at me, I would be meek as a lamb and I'd do exactly what I was told.
You were told.
But if the showbiz ones are shouting at me, I'd be like, listen, do you want to come on House of Games? You can come on House of Games if you want. But if you shout at me one more time, then you're not going to.
Please, can you go on and try and break the format in 30 minutes?
Can you imagine? There we go. Richard.
What about a new show called The Format Breaker? Richard Osman goes on other people's shows and works out how to destroy their format. But just as a contestant.
But the way to do it, of course, is to destroy it in that way, and then for the producers to go, Richard, we can't. We can't show this. Okay.
You're the reacher of formats, Richard.
Yeah.
You just break them with a glance.
Yeah. But I go, I know you can't show it. And so therefore, I need you to make sure that no one is shouting at me. Right. And then I will be good as gold. I'll do the challenges. I'll lift stuff for you. But I'm not going to go in there in my pants and be shouted at. I said, and if you want that to happen, then I am going to say to the guy, listen, mate, I know your agent. You are not storming an embassy. Right.
And he's going to say, sorry, can I just ask you, Richard, why did you say yes to this show? Have you seen television? You come across as a guy who's seen television. Yeah. So why did you say yes to the show?
And then I would say, this is purely hypothetical and I didn't say yes to the show. We're just on a podcast. And you will recognise that I have not said yes to your show. But if you were forced, if suddenly it became like national service and you had to go on a reality show and I was on that, then I would definitely, you've got to be talking to the producers all the time. You've got to be saying, I refuse to accept that this is reality because it isn't. And if you want me to pretend it's reality, then I am going to need someone really nice to sleep.
That's the title of the show. It's better than The Format Breaker. It's I refuse to accept this is reality. Richard Osman's I refuse to accept this is reality.
Which is also the title of my autobiography.
This episode is brought to you by Sky, proud partners of The Rest is Entertainment, where you can watch unmissable shows, including The Penguin, starring Academy Award nominee Colin Farrell.
I know. Now, Colin Farrell was the Penguin in the Batman movie, and genuinely you wouldn't have a clue it was him.
It really shows the magical power of makeup and prosthetics.
Incredible performance. Now, in this story, Gotham City is in ruin, in total chaos. The Penguin, aka Oscob, is out to fill the power vacuum in the city and take control of its criminal underworld. Come on, man.
Not only does it star Colin Farrell, there was a return for Kristen Milioti.
Oh, I like her.
Yeah, she plays Sophia Falcone, the daughter of the Penguin's former boss. You might have seen Kristen in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Brilliant cast.
and great world building. Tense, violent, dark, always darker and grittier. The show looks like everything we got on The Batman, and then it kicks it up a notch.
Now, in this 8-part series, it goes deeper into the dark depths of Gotham's criminal underworld, and we'll get to see how it all plays out.
The Penguin on Sky from the 20th of September.
Richard, from Tim Leake, there is a question about radio music. I was listening to Jason Manford on Sunday, and his show is on all of the era's absolute stations. So that's 60s, 70s, 80s, sport, etc., the era of sport. But obviously the songs in between are different. Do they have to plan every space to have songs from the relevant decade match on length, or do they use different adverts and stings to fill the difference?
Thank you for that question, because genuinely I did not know the answer to this, and I wanted to find out. So I did, and I talked to all sorts of people who do that, because it is incredible. So absolutely, Jason will just do his bit with Steve Edge, he presents that with, and the music is completely different depending where on the dial you are. And Rob Watson, who's the one of the content directors at Absolute Radio, got back to me, and he said it's exactly right. Firstly, the show is like delayed by an hour, so it's done like an hour in advance. But yeah, so Jason, any presenter on these things and their producers, they know they have a certain amount of talk time per hour, so they have to hit exactly, whether that's 24 minutes or whatever it is, and so they have to hit that exactly, and that allows the music schedulers to know how many songs to schedule. The music schedulers know exactly how long the ad breaks are. By and large, the ads are standardized across the things. But yeah, so you've got a piece of technology that tells you exactly how long different songs are from the different eras. They are then matched up. So somebody's doing an incredible bit of algorithmic work. Maybe there's some AI involved these days. I don't know. They wouldn't tell us, would they? No. And so it's absolutely that. So, and if you listen to the Dave Berry radio show as well, which is absolutely live, and all the talky bits in that show are done at exactly the same time. It's even more complicated, the Dave Berry show. But yeah, so somebody behind the scenes is doing an incredible amount of work, but it's one of those ones, it's not like Chris Evans' show where they can overrun by kind of 7 minutes or something like that. They have to hit exact to the second times, which great radio presenters can do.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible business, because you hire Jason once, he's on 5 different stations, whatever type of music you like, you get his personality, which people love, and you get the music that you love. But yet it all comes down to somewhere somebody in a computer has logged every single song, every single length of every single song,
it's all
and
maths,
matches them perfectly. It's all maths, but it's genuinely impressive stuff, I would say. But of course, I mean, how else would they do it other than that? But that's what they're doing.
It's meticulous.
It is meticulous. It's meticulous.
It's meticulous.
Marina, I have a question for you, which I don't quite understand, but I think you do. Charlie Lockett asked Charlie Lockett, was like a Dr. Zeus character, why is the commercial success of movies primarily measured by box office returns rather than the total number of tickets sold? Which I would have thought were the same thing.
A lot of tickets are sold at premium, and so you might see it at a special screen, you might see it at IMAX, premium screen, evening screenings. So something like when Furiosa opened earlier this year, the sort of the Mad Max installment of that, it actually sold fewer tickets than the Garfield movie, but it was number one in the box office because it sold more premium tickets, more. And I mean, I am a big fan of all data being released, and when
you've always been a big fan of all data.
When people
being
don't give you the data, it's because they're deliberately trying to be obscure. And even, like I'm thrilled Netflix releases all their stuff, but they do this kind of what they call it hours viewed.
Yeah.
They are trying to be, and they're not talking to you about how quickly after release and things like that. There's always a form of sort of obscurantism going on. And the reason that is in the movie business is because box office receipts are down all the time, right? But because of inflation, it makes it seem like movies are opening big still. But if you did it on tickets sold, you'd be shocked how many tickets are being sold this year compared to like the late 90s or something like that. And it's a story that the movie business, whilst talking about it all the time, does not like to tell about itself, which is that fewer and fewer people are going out to see their products. So but certain types of movies, by the way, do that, and they make a lot of money. Like Oppenheimer, obviously so many more people went to see Barbie than Oppenheimer. So many more people.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want to see Chris Nolan films in IMAX, and there's these kind of premium showings in these kind of theatres with massive screens where they can charge a lot more. So films like that, are deliberately made to be on big screens. And Chris Nolan is someone who talks a lot about why he wants his movies like that. And so things like Dune, again. Dennis Phil knows, that makes a lot of money because people want to see it on an enormous screen and they will pay for that. But I'm afraid it is a story. I think they should release both because I think that's interesting. But I think lots of things about people telling us about how many things they actually sell and how many people actually watch their stuff that doesn't happen because they're trying to keep it from you.
Yeah, so it's interesting because the book market operates in exactly the opposite way, which they'll tell you exactly how many books are sold rather than how much profit they have made, if that makes sense, because with discounting books and stuff like that, it can make a big difference. So when you get the Nielsen figures each week, and as you know, I like to get the raw data, unlike you, if the data's there, I like it. It not only tells you how many books have been sold, which is what you see in the Sunday Times bestseller, but it'll also tell you at what discount each of those books has been sold, there's always a discount because you've got the recommended retail price, and then retailers compete against each other on price, and Amazon competes against them all on price as well. So you'll see the average discount, and then you'll also see the gross figure that has been made by that book in a week, which is the amount it's sold multiplied by what they are actually sold for, which I find very, very interesting. And
you're the leader in every category in which you compete.
Anyway, but you will occasionally get a very high-end literary book which has not been discounted at all. So it might be like at number 7 in the chart, but at 0 discount. So it actually like the fourth, in terms of making money, it's made more. But ebooks is where that particularly is the case, because you look at the ebook charts and they're almost always dominated by books that have been available for 99p, which are not making money for anybody. So it's they say in the ebook market, volume for vanity, profit for sanity, which is there's no point selling 100,000 books at 99p other than it's a very, very good loss leader and a very good promotion for that author if they've got another backlist which you want to sell. So you will, if you're selling a 99p audiobook, if you're selling a 99p ebook, it's to say, I think you're going to love this author, so read this. And you can then find that the author's other works, but for more money. So yeah, it's weird. It's exactly the other way around in that, which is they tell you exactly how many have been sold, but not for how much.
They never give you the 360 picture. All of these people are trying to keep show you their best side.
But it's nice, at least in this, that if you are in the industry, you can see that. And by the way, the discounts are always usually about 36% will be the average discount for any book at any given time from the recommended retail price. It's somewhere between sort of 40 to 30%, between like 35 to 30%. So, but it is open and clear, but it's not included in that top 10. It wouldn't change it a huge amount, but
no. But it's better than nothing. As we say in the UK, we do not publish any. We said the other week we don't publish any of the theatre grosses at all.
Yeah,
because they want to keep all of that secret. So some data is better than no data, but more data is always good, in my view.
More data is always good. If the history of the last 50 years has proved anything, it's the more data we have as a species, the more advanced we become. It's really helping us out. On that commercial bombshell, shall we leave it?
We shall. Now, please do keep sending your questions in, though, to therestissentertainment@gmail.com. And we have coming up some pretty exciting news about an ad-free version.
Yes, exactly, which people have asked us about a lot. So, I think we're having a little think about how that might work. We want to make sure that there's a little bit of extra value in there as well. But we are, I promise, working on it, and we'll have more details very soon.
We'll have more news on that very soon. Other than that, see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.